Several years ago, in Promethea, Matt began training to be the new Green Ranger. At first, he was a disaster because he didn't have the skills to fight, but after 6 months of intense training, he started to improve in battles. Promethea is a high-tech place, so they had the right tools to achieve effective training. One of these tools was a room with simulation to create unreal monsters so the new Green Ranger could train. After training with one of these monsters, Matt feels very tired and thinks he doesn't have what it takes to be the new Green Ranger. He feels he can't fill the void left by Tommy, but Grace explains to him that she didn't choose him for his abilities, but for his big heart. She also tells him that a long time ago she was also a ranger and almost her entire team died because of her. Sometimes people will get hurt and you're going to think it's your fault, but what you do in those moments when the world looks darker is what makes you a Power Ranger. In the present day, in the Bermuda Triangle, Rita is still doing the whole ritual to bring Dark Specter back, while the Rangers try to stop her, but Matt won't let them. Grace is lying on the ground and the Rangers can't believe what they are seeing. They think Matt has murdered Grace and Billy has been very shocked by the news. It must be remembered that Matt is bewitched by Rita's wickedness, and even though the Rangers had destroyed the sword, apparently this didn't work to get Matt out of Rita's power. Billy begins to ask Matt if Grace is dead, while Tommy tries to calm him down and Matt begins to be afraid of what the Blue Ranger might do. Then, Billy loses control and starts attacking Matt with his gun, telling him to stay away from her. Rita continues with the ritual, while telling Vessel to look at what she is doing, which is using the Zeo crystal to complete the spell and bring back Dark Specter. This dark power creates a black energy that covers the whole place and surrounds Vessel, which is going to be the body Dark Specter is going to use to return. Rita thinks she is achieving her goal as she says she has accomplished the impossible, and this tells us that the ritual is about to be completed. The return of the darkest being is imminent, and this is going to have a huge impact on the entire universe. Rita allows Vessel to speak as she says that there are few triumphs without witnesses, but he claims her for what she has done as he knows this is pure evil and understands the danger the universe is in. Rita explains to him that she was granted unimaginable power and that is why she infected the Morphin Grid to make Dark Specter's return possible. In Safe Haven, the Omega Rangers continue to fight Rita's army, while Lord Zed continues to use the new Serpentera to try to find the witch in that place, but we obviously know she's not there. His desperation to find Rita is so intense that he doesn't mind hurting innocent people to accomplish his goal, but the Omega Rangers try to stop him. Kever is controlling his yellow Omega Zord and he doesn't know Lord Zed, so he doesn't understand why Serpentera isn't careful with the innocents. He then asks Zed to focus on destroying the gooey things, so he doesn't make the job harder for the Rangers. Kever is so confused that he asks Lord Zed what kind of Power Ranger he is, but then Serpentera flies away and this confuses Kever even more. Zack checks in with Kever to see how everything is going and then tells him that they're going to need a minute to be able to help them. This is because Zack and Trini must face off against the Death Ranger and Dane, both of whom think they are going to wipe out the Rangers. The battle begins and the villains are very confident. Meanwhile, Trini tries to communicate with Billy, but he does not respond. Obviously, the Blue Ranger does not listen to her because he lost control and is still attacking Matt, but Trini does not know what is happening. Both villains start attacking Zack, but Trini arrives at that moment to help him. Alpha 1 stands in front of Safe Haven's Master Arch saying that he has not failed Rita as both arches will be theirs and they will show no mercy to their enemies. The Rangers continue to battle Matt, while Kimberly cries watching as the dark energy engulfs Grace. Matt then manages to push Billy away, but Tommy grabs the dagger from Matt and knocks him down. Tommy asks Matt to stop, but he tearfully replies that he should take Matt's life. Even though the Green Ranger is filled with Rita's dark energy, Matt's spirit is still there and is trying to resist this evil energy. Billy still can't control himself and the other Rangers must restrain him from attacking Matt. Meanwhile, Kimberly destroys the door to get into Rita's place, but Rita doesn't seem to care and welcomes her with sarcasm. In Safe Haven, the Master Arch begins to fill with energy, which means someone is going through the grid and Alpha thinks it's Rita. At that moment, Zack and Trini are thrown by the villains, who are also accompanied by 3 Wild Force Rangers who are turned into zombies by the Death Ranger. Then, the Arch's energy increases, and everyone is confused as they don't understand what is happening. Surprisingly, out of the portal come the Draken Rangers, which belong to the world of the Coinless, and in another video, we will tell their whole story. The Green Ranger is Draken, who is obviously the leader of the team. The Yellow Ranger is Trini, the Blue Ranger is Kia, the Black Ranger is Scorpina, and the Red Ranger is Bulk. Obviously, these Rangers belong to a different universe, the universe where Lord Draken comes from, and a lot of very crazy things have happened there. Even though they are led by Draken, these Rangers come to help stop Rita since Draken understands the danger that Dark Specter represents. In the Bermuda Triangle, Rita easily drives the Yellow and Pink Rangers away, while Matt seizes that moment to escape. He then kneels before Rita and begs her forgiveness for being weak, but she uses him again to set a trap for the Rangers. With the dark power she begins to punish Matt so that he feels a lot of pain and then tells the Rangers that they have 2 choices. They can save Matt, or they can save the universe by trying to stop the ritual. In the dark power we can already see 2 bright red flashes, which tells us that Dark Specter is coming. The Rangers think that Rita can kill Matt, so they make the decision to save him. They all run towards Rita together to make their attack and try to save Matt, but at that moment the beginning of the darkest hour occurs. Dark Specter takes over Vessel's body and the dark energy spreads throughout the universe, across all timelines and the multiverse. Rangers from different times and in different places all perceive the dark energy that traverses time and space. We then see that Adam and Rocky have been left in bad shape, yet they are confused because they can't find the other Rangers. Apparently, the impact has been so big that it has affected everything around and we don't know what has happened to the other Rangers. Now, we can see that Vessel's body has changed, it is now red and no longer belongs to him, but to Dark Specter. The ritual is completed, Dark Specter tells Rita that he has done well, he also says that his new body is powerful and that this world now belongs to him. In this new episode of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 112 comic book, we can see that Billy wakes up in a strange place after the explosion drove them all out. With his glasses broken, he gets up from the ground, and when he recovers, he can notice that there is something strange. What Billy was seeing was something impressive, an energy with different colors in an empty space that was dark, and this energy was the only light. Billy tries to touch this energy that was apparently moving, and he hears a voice that reminds him of one of the most important rules of science. This voice was of a specter in the form of a young woman wearing red and tells Billy that the most important rule is to look, but not to touch. Then, this same woman confirms to Billy that this place is the Morphin Grid and that she had a theory that this energy manifested differently for each person, but it does not. Billy quickly realizes that this woman is a young version of Grace Sterling, and we must remember that she was the first Red Ranger on Earth, even before Jason, so this is why she has a connection to the grid. Grace reconfirms to Billy that this is the grid, that it has no end, that it is everywhere, and that it is infected. Somewhere else, Trini and Zack are fighting Rita's soldiers and still don't understand what is going on. For now, they just know that there are too many soldiers, and they start to climb as high as they can to try to escape. Obviously, this doesn't work, and they reach a point where they have no escape, so they must keep fighting. They are both surprised as these soldiers are stronger and more resistant, but they don't give up and decide to keep fighting even though they think they have no chance of winning the fight. At that moment, an arrow pierces one of the enemies, and obviously this arrow is from the Pink Ranger, who appears next to Tommy through a crack in the sky. All the Rangers are confused as they don't know how they got to that place, but they all unite as one team to destroy all the enemies. It's like seeing the old Mighty Morphin team united in battle again. Inside the grid, Grace explains to Billy that they are in a pocket dimension, but Billy still thinks this is impossible because Grace is dead. Billy then confirms that she is a program, and this program explains that the real Grace rebuilt the Master Ark on Earth by putting a trigger on it. This connected it to a transmitter she implanted in her own brain, and when she died, the transmitter sent a signal to the Master Ark to push Billy to safety. At the other location, the Rangers managed to destroy all the enemies, but even though Trini and Zack are very close, Kimberly and Tommy are still estranged. Tommy comments that he is glad to see Trini and Zack in sync, but Kimberly thinks he said this on purpose to make her feel like this is all her fault since she had previously disobeyed Tommy's orders as team leader. All the Rangers start talking about what is going on, and Kimberly tells the Omega Rangers that she and Tommy were kicked out by the Master Arch several hours ago. Trini says that they have only been on the run since Rita's soldiers started coming out through that rift, and now the Rangers realize that the rift is getting bigger and bigger. In the pocket dimension, the program tells Billy that Grace expected a lot from him, but never gave him much information to protect him, as sometimes having too much information can become a curse. Now they can't afford to hide the information, so she begins to explain everything to him. Grace discovered that the master bow she used was created by a being called the Morphinaut, but this being we know is the Phantom Ranger. Grace found the notes left by this being and was able to discover that he had closed the bow to leave Dark Specter inside his own dimension. Unfortunately, Rita used the Zeo crystal to breach the grid and activate an infection. This infection is spreading throughout the grid and is toxic to all Rangers, but obviously not to Dark Specter. We can now see the rift spreading throughout the grid, and Billy understands that this means Dark Specter can now go everywhere this infection goes. Grace comments that there wasn't a threat this big since the shattered grid that threatened existence, and Billy doesn't know what she is talking about. In the other place there is also the Yellow Ranger, who after destroying the enemies, now starts talking to Matt. We can see that the Green Ranger is tied up and looks quite upset. She tries to get Matt to talk, but he doesn't want to talk as he feels very bad about all the damage he has caused. The Yellow Ranger tells him that they already broke Rita's spell, but Matt replies that there is still some dark magic left inside him, and any amount of that magic is a lot. All the Rangers gather, and Zack is confused as he doesn't understand why Matt is tied up. The Green Ranger replies that he killed Grace, and Zack can't believe what he's hearing. The only Ranger who can understand Matt is Tommy, as he too was under Rita's spell, and this is why he starts talking to Matt. Tommy starts to tell him that his other version, Draken, also killed innocent people and then asks Matt if he remembers killing Grace, but he replies that he does not. Tommy keeps trying to convince him by telling him that Rita can cloud his mind, but she can never take his soul. Meanwhile, more of Rita's soldiers start coming through the rift and the Rangers must start fighting. In the pocket dimension, the program tells Billy that this dimension will not last for long, so he must find the solution to this infection himself. The survival of the Morphin grid depends on him, and this makes Billy nervous, and he begins to question why it should be him and not another Ranger like Tommy or Trini. Billy feels that because he is not the White Ranger or the Red Ranger, he will not be able to handle such a big responsibility, but the program tells him that he is the Blue Ranger, and all Blue Rangers have the talent to solve problems. Billy still feels that he is not going to be able to make it, but the program also tells him that Rangers are not selected for what they will be, but for what they already are, and a morpher only enhances what they already are at heart. As the program says these words to Billy, at the other location the Rangers start fighting with Rita's soldiers who keep coming, but Tommy keeps trying to convince Matt to help them. Tommy manages to convince Matt and tells him that right now they need the Green Ranger. The program also tells Billy that this is why even in the face of devastating loss they never give up hope. Then, she tells him that he has to go now because that place is going to disappear and he may be stuck there forever, so she sends him back telling him that the power will protect us all. In the other place the Rangers continue fighting hard, and in that moment of desperation the Green Ranger and the White Ranger transform. At a spectacular moment, both Rangers start to fight against all of Rita's soldiers, but they realize that again there are too many of them. Tommy tells the Rangers to leave while he stops Rita's soldiers, and at that moment a ship appears. In another place, what appears to be some ship or command center, Billy appears. In that same place Billy finds a chest, which has a note written by Grace that says that the Master Bow was not the only thing she found. When Billy opens the chest, he is very surprised, and inside were 2 giant eggs. In another dimension, in a dinosaur zoo, which we know belongs to the Dino Charge dimension, and this is one of the few times we get to see a different team in the comics. Kendall, the Purple Ranger, begins to see something strange in the energy in Energems. Obviously, we already know that this has been caused by the infection caused by Rita and Dark Specter in the whole grid. Kendall tries to explain to the other Rangers that they started to lose connection to the Morphin grid for a few moments, and although he doesn't know how this could be possible, he does know that this can't be a good thing. Because of this, Kendall asks the Rangers not to morph until she manages to find the problem, but they think it is impossible not to morph. It is something they simply cannot do. Kendall tells them that Keeper, the mentor of this Ranger team, is investigating and she still hasn't heard from him, so she made the decision to stop morphing for now. At that moment, the alert alarm begins to sound, and although Tyler the Red Ranger thinks it might be Keeper, it really isn't him. The alert sounded because Rita and Dark Specter just entered this dimension along with many soldiers who are terrorizing all the people. Rita and Dark Specter were surprised that another dimension existed, and that the infection brought them to this place. Then the Dino Charge Power Rangers show up, and quickly Dark Specter and Rita realize that they are very powerful Rangers. The Rangers then prepare for Morphin, but Shelby tries to remind Tyler what Kendall had told them. At the command center, Kendall realizes that it was not simply a pulse that disconnected them from the grid, but an infection. As she discovers this, Keeper appears through a portal, but he was already infected and begins to attack Kendall while saying that it is too late as his mistress must have the victory. Despite Kendall's warning, the Rangers begin the transformation, except for the Pink Ranger and the Gold Ranger. This causes the Rangers who attempted the transformation to begin to feel the full power of the infection, and now they are not in control of what is happening. Unfortunately, the 4 Rangers were totally infected and now think they are Rita's soldiers. Dark Specter is very happy with what is happening, and Rita tells him that she will give him everything as promised. In the other dimension in Promethea, Trona is trying to help everyone she can as Rita's soldiers keep destroying everything and attacking everyone. Because there are also beings from other planets in that place, the mayor of the city does not want to help them. At that moment, Billy arrives and hears Trona say that when they find Grace, she is going to talk to the mayoress, but Billy tells her that that is not going to happen because Grace is dead. Trona can't believe what is happening, and at that moment the guards start running because there is an emergency. Outside Promethea, many of Rita's soldiers had arrived along with a monster and started attacking the guards. Billy starts attacking the monster, but she can stretch a lot and is a very big problem. At that moment, 2 members of the Draken Rangers arrive and begin to help Billy. Because Billy had never seen these Rangers before, he thinks that Grace's program had sent him to another dimension, but the Draken Rangers confirm that he is in the right place. Each Ranger holds a limb of the monster and begins to stretch it a lot. Then the Black Ranger cuts off the monster's head and it explodes completely. Billy still thinks he's in another dimension since he doesn't know the Rangers, but Kia takes off her helmet and tells him he's home. At the command center, Trini and Bulk from Draken's universe are trying to repair Alpha, but Trini says it's going to take a while because he has a complicated firewall to restart. Zordon tells her that Billy installed that to protect Alpha from hackers, and Trini replies that it's not so good since he didn't add a self-defense mode. Just then Billy arrives and tells her that Alpha doesn't need that self-defense mode because he's not built to be a fighter. Trini is very excited to see Billy and is that we must remember that the Billy from that universe is dead, but previously she had met the Billy from the main universe. Zordon asks Billy about the other Rangers, but so far no one has seen them, and even though Billy feels like he's only been gone for a few hours, it's been 3 days without any of the Mighty Morphins from this universe showing up. Billy doesn't know what is going on since he was taken to a pocket dimension when the explosion happened, but the Draken Rangers don't know what happened either since they were somewhere else, or so Billy explains everything about the explosion to him. He also tells him that the Mighty Morphin were sucked into the Master Arc, and Trini says that happened to the Omega Rangers as well. Bulk explains to him that when all that happened, they had to escape to Earth with the cat and the Conehead, which are Yale and Kever. Scorpina then tells Billy that while he was on vacation, Finster has used the Earth as his monster playground, and then Billy asks how they got back to being Rangers again. At that moment, Draken appears and tells Billy that it's because he was generous. Billy gets very angry, transforms, and even though Trini tries to stop him, Billy manages to shoot Draken. Then the two begin to fight until the Draken Rangers manage to separate them. Despite this, they all start arguing as Billy and Draken want to continue fighting, but Zordon stops them all. At Safe Haven are all the villains who helped with this infection mission, and Dark Specter is sitting on the throne. Rita begins to say that the infection is still spreading and now its reach is even greater. Soon their power will no longer have a limit, with the Zeo crystal and her power corrupting them. The Rangers are going to fall just by doing morphosis. He then says that not even the Death Ranger has that much control, and when he goes to answer Rita, Dark Specter tells her that this power doesn't belong to him since he gave it to her and can take it away. Rita tries to answer him by saying that they have taken the power for themselves, but Dark Specter quickly attacks her to make it clear who the real boss is. Rita falls to the floor and Dark Specter tells her that there is no us, this power comes from him, and the victory is his alone. Then he asks her to get up because now they can't rest, and even less when the Morphin Grid now belongs to him. Inside a spaceship are the Hyperforce Rangers, and they are all upset because they are receiving a call from a man who is always calling them. Inside the ship we can also see the Yellow Ranger of Wild Force, and in order to understand all this, you must read the Hyperforce comic, which we are going to read very soon on this channel. The man who always calls them is Draken, but this time he is with Billy, and they are looking for the Hyperforce Rangers to ask for help. The blue Hyperforce Ranger is very excited because he is getting to know Billy, and since they are from the future, they know all the things Billy has done. Draken had asked them to find the Rangers all over the Morphin Grid, but the Hyperforce Rangers tell him that they have not been able to do so because it is too difficult. The Yellow Ranger tells him that they were only able to find one Ranger from Dino Charge, and we can see that that Ranger is Kendall, who had previously been attacked by Keeper. Kendall says that this was much more than just an attack, so Billy wants to know everything that happened, and the Yellow Wild Force Ranger tells him that the Death Ranger transformed almost the entire Wild Force team. Kendall also tells everything that happened in their dimension and explains that the infection is spreading throughout the grid, making it toxic. Then the Hyperforce explain that they have not been affected by the infection because they travel through time and space using the Hyperstream. Zordon realizes then that Rita doesn't have access to the Hyperstream, but Draken tells her that she doesn't need that since she has the Zeo Crystal and Safe Haven's Master Bow. He also says that soon the grid is going to be completely infected, and they should find as many Rangers as they can before Rita finds them. Although this idea sounds great, the Hyperforce Rangers have been searching the grid for several days and only found Kendall. Besides that, the grid is infinite, and they don't have a map. At that moment, Billy has an idea since Grace left him something and he thinks he might know how to use it. Quickly some Rangers went to the place where the explosion happened, and there was Finster, who managed to escape. Billy asks Bulk and Scorpina to guard the door while he and Trini work inside. Once inside the place, Trini and Billy start to have a little argument since she knows that Billy is bothered by her working with Draken. Billy tells her that it is very stupid since Draken is evil, plus he is also working with Kia and Scorpina. Trini tells him that she trusts Scorpina as she is not the same person he thinks she is, plus she sees life very differently after losing many friends. Now it's not about good or evil, it's about survival. Meanwhile, Billy begins to take out the eggs that Grace had left him and explains to Trini that these are power eggs which contain the power of the universe inside them. These eggs belonged to the Morphin Masters and Grace managed to find them. Billy also explains that if they transform then they can activate these eggs, and this can open the Master Arc. This can help them find the other Rangers, or it can also bring them back. Then Trini and Billy start the transformation, and this causes a big explosion in that place. With this explosion the Phantom Ranger appears, who now points a gun at Billy and asks him what he did. In Safe Haven, Rita and Dark Specter have turned the whole place into their command center and at the same time into a prison. In this prison we can see that they have trapped Rocky and Adam, the Red and Black Mighty Morphin Rangers. Both of them are looking for a way to relax, and each one uses his own style to be able to do it. Despite all the effort, desperation is very hard, and they decide to check if there are other people locked in that prison as well. When they start shouting to find out if there are other people, they realize that there are other Rangers from different teams locked up very close to them. The first one to answer them is Danny Delgado, the Black Ranger from Wild Force, and when he found out that the ones screaming were Rocky and Adam, he told them that it is strange since the last time he heard from them, they were no longer teenagers. The Death Ranger traveled to the future in search of other Rangers and used a device that the Time Force Rangers have used. After this conversation, many other Rangers who were also locked in that place began to speak, and all were from different teams which belonged to different times or dimensions. At that moment, a man named Angel appears, which peculiarly has a great physical resemblance to Draken, and he is going to introduce them to Dark Specter. On Earth we can see again the Phantom Ranger threatening Billy since he does not know him and thinks that Billy wants to rebuild the Ark to help Dark Specter with the infection. At that moment, Trini threatens the Phantom Ranger by putting her dagger to his neck, but Billy starts to explain that the person who rebuilt this arch just wanted to stop the infection and they were trying that too but failed. The Phantom Ranger realizes that they had used the power eggs to be able to activate the energy, but tells them that those eggs contain a power that they have not yet been able to understand. He also tells them that they could have shattered the universe while trying to save it, but Billy replies that Rita has infected the network. Dark Specter managed to cross into this universe and possibly this was the only option. The Phantom Ranger tells them that this may not be the only option to stop Dark Specter and begins to tell them that he was at the far edge of space looking for the emissaries in hopes of finding them so they could stop all of this, but at that point the infection caught up with him until it took him to the Master Arch. Trini and Billy know nothing about the emissaries, so the Phantom Ranger tells them that the emissaries are like ancient children of the Morphin Masters who initially discovered the grid. In an effort to thwart Dark Specter's plans, the emissaries harnessed the power of the Morphin grid and merged with that power, so they are always on the move. The Phantom Ranger wants to find the emissaries as they have direct contact with the Morphin Masters and they can possibly stop the infection, but there is a possibility that they are also trapped. Billy gets a call from Bulk who tells him that the Hyperforce Rangers found the other members of the Mighty Morphin team, but he also has bad news that they are not alone. In Angel Grove, different Rangers including the Hyperforce and the Mighty Morphin are fighting against Rita, Finster, and Squat soldiers. They are obviously finishing off the soldiers even though more keep appearing and Finster decides to give them a bigger challenge. The machine Squat was using starts to transform into a monster, and because it is quite large, the Rangers are going to have to use the Zords to stop it. Kimberly says that the Mighty Morphin team can't call in the Megazord because not all the team members are there, so the Hyperforce call in their own Megazord. The Kronos Hyperforce Megazord is ready for battle and begins fighting Finster's new monster. Kimberly says that she can call her Zord to help in the air, but at that moment the Death Ranger appears behind her. The Death Ranger tells her that he needs more new Rangers, and she was calling him because her heart is broken. He then asks if she wants him to fix her heart, but Matt quickly knocks the Death Ranger down. The Megazord manages to destroy the monster and Squat along with Finster teleport out of there. All the Rangers are ready to take on the Death Ranger, but he says that maybe they can fight another time and, in the meantime, he's going to send his regards to Tommy from Kimberly. At Safe Haven, Rita and Dark Specter have Tommy as a prisoner, and Dark Specter wants to test if the White Ranger's power truly can't be broken since that power is designed to never be used for evil. Dark Specter wants to test this theory, so he gives the morpher to Tommy, and when he tries to transform, Rita tries to infect him just as she did all the other Rangers to turn them into villains. In Promethea, the Rangers who were in the battle against Finster arrive, and we can see that even though the Omega Rangers are happy to be together again, Kimberly and Matt are very sad. Matt feels that he was the one who should have been being tortured in Safe Haven and not Tommy, but Kimberly tells him that it's not his fault since Tommy is like that. Zordon and the Phantom Ranger are reunited after a long time, and both are trying to cheer each other up in this very difficult circumstance. They are trying to remember all the losses they have had, but the Phantom Ranger says that it will help them be stronger for what is to come. At that moment, Draken asks, "What is to come?" The Phantom Ranger says that he senses that Draken knows what is coming and also explains that the only hope to cleanse the Morphin grid of the infection are the Morphin Masters or emissaries. Unfortunately, the Morphin Masters are not responding, and the only way to find them is to enter the heart of the Morphin grid, but that is only possible through a Master Arch. Trini the Omega Ranger says that unfortunately, the only Master Archway left is in Safe Haven, the place where Rita and Dark Specter are, but Billy says that this is not completely true. In Safe Haven, Rita and Dark Specter are still trying to experiment on Tommy to transform the white power and turn him into a villain, but apparently this isn't working. Tommy attacks Dark Specter and then tries to escape but is shot down by another Ranger. Surprisingly, this Ranger is Adam, who along with Rocky has been transformed into villains. Dark Specter is angry because Rita had promised him a White Ranger, but the plan was not working. In the Bermuda Triangle, Billy is trying to think of a plan to be able to rebuild the arch that was there since he can use it to lure the Morphin Masters as happened with the Phantom Ranger, but the Phantom Ranger himself tells him that there is no time to rebuild all that since the infection spreads too fast. Draken tries to threaten Billy to hurry up thinking of more ideas, but Kimberly punches him in the stomach and says that, if they need a Master Bow, then everyone already knows where there is one. The only way left for them is to go to Safe Haven and risk it to use the Master Arch. In Safe Haven is all of Dark Specter's army, and we must understand that now all of this is no longer Rita's because Dark Specter is the most powerful at the moment. Tommy is a prisoner and Rita keeps trying to persuade him to become a villain since she had promised Dark Specter to give him a White Ranger. Rita starts telling Tommy all the things she supposedly did for him, including making him a ranger and giving him a family. After trying to persuade him by telling him many things, she finally asks him if he would ever serve her again. Tommy taunts her in her face and tells her that Zordon was the one who saved him. He also tells her that the Rangers are now his family, they gave him hope and he only knows love for them. Tommy had nightmares for a long time because of Rita, so he refuses to serve her, and this doesn't make Rita very happy. A very important detail is that Tommy tells her that you can't serve an abuser and he has seen how Dark Specter treats her. At Promethea all the Rangers are there, and Matt begins to explain to the Rangers how Rita works. Rita was for months recruiting generals from all corners of space using force or bounty. She did all of this in the name of Dark Specter, and that is why most of them remain loyal. Draken claims that he is no longer loyal, and although the other Rangers don't care, this is going to be an important part of the story. Aisha asks the Rangers to stop talking and let Matt finish what he is saying. Matt tries to continue, but at that moment he starts to feel the evil power inside him again and cannot continue. Aisha goes after him and then hugs him in order to calm him down. Apparently, Matt also started to feel anxiety, and this is what activated the power inside him, so because of this, Aisha tells him that he should not go on this mission. The other Rangers try to think of something else since now they don't have all the information Matt was giving them, so Zack tries to explain a little secret the Omega Rangers have. In Safe Haven there is a maintenance tunnel underneath everything and no one knows about this path, so they can use it, so they don't have to make a frontal attack. The Rangers want to try to get to Safe Haven to gain access to the only remaining Master Arch so they can search for the emissaries, but the Dark Specter army is too large and there are not enough Rangers to accomplish this mission. The Rangers may try to enter through this secret tunnel, but if they are discovered, then they are not going to be ready for a showdown. Billy says that he and Morgan may be able to set something up so they can help the Rangers, but Zordon thinks there is another Ranger they can call in. At the Bandora Palace on the moon we get to see Lord Zedd's new Zord, which is an upgraded version of Serpentera, though it's not working well at the moment. Because of this, Lord Zedd, Golder and Babu are trapped on the moon. Lord Zedd says that without the Zord they don't stand a chance against Dark Specter's army, so they can't even look for another ship to take them on as they would lose the battle. Suddenly an artifact falls from space, and although everyone freaked out because they thought it was a bomb, it's actually a transmitter. Zordon sent this artifact to communicate with Lord Zedd, and apparently this is the other Ranger he was referring to. Zordon and Lord Zedd are going to join forces in order to defeat Rita, but obviously Zordon knows he must trick Zedd in order to convince him. Zordon tells him that Serpentera is now owned by Promethea, but they are going to allow Lord Zedd to keep the Zord if he gives them something in return. On Earth, Kimberly is at Jason's house to help him heal his wounds, as he had previously tried to fight Matt to save Earth, but he is no longer a Ranger and so he received a severe blow to the head. Kimberly also needs Jason's wisdom, so she vents and talks about everything she's going through. She tells him that she doesn't need words of hope, she needs him to promise her that he's going to take care of the land if the Rangers don't come back from Safe Haven. Jason tries to process everything that is going on, but finally promises Kimberly that he will take care of the land if anything bad happens to the Rangers. In Safe Haven, many are impatient and Dane begins to doubt Dark Specter's plan. He doesn't like that Dark Specter uses dark magic to transform the Rangers as it turns them into mindless slaves, and the best strategy is to break the will of others. Finster tries to explain to him that with that magic the will has been locked away and he should be thankful that Dark Specter for now is only focusing on the Rangers. She also tells him that he should be careful what he says since Dark Specter doesn't have the ability to forgive like Rita does, and the Death Ranger is finding that out right now. Dark Specter is beating the crap out of the Death Ranger for going to Earth without asking his permission. Here we can see the immense power this evil being has. Dark Specter tells him that he gave him everything, including the body he has, and he doesn't deserve it anymore. Before Dark Specter finishes off the Death Ranger, Rita offers to take care of that problem and he gets angry that she is trying to steal that moment of anger from him. Rita tries to convince him by saying that the Death Ranger is not worthy of Dark Specter's wrath, but this only seems like a long-term plan of this witch. Dark Specter admits that even though his new body is powerful, he still has limitations and now feels tired, so he allows Rita to do whatever she wants. The Death Ranger says he can still help, but Rita begins to punish him with all her power, and we can see that she has the Zeo crystal in her staff. Outside there is a war going on as Lord Zedd has arrived with Serpentera along with the Hyperforce Rangers Megazord. These two giant Zords are crushing everyone, and the Rangers realize that Lord Zedd has a lot of anger. The other Rangers made it through the tunnel and are now inside the place, but they know they have lost the advantage as Lord Zedd started attacking earlier than planned. Despite this, Billy says that Lord Zedd was the distraction and now both Zords are being overwhelmed by the army, so the Rangers inside must hurry. At that moment, Alpha 1 appears, which had merged with 11 and arrived with many soldiers to stop the Rangers. In addition to all those soldiers, the Rangers who have been possessed by Dark Specter also appear, and among them are Adam and Rocky. The battle begins and Kimberly warns Billy that they need to go with the backup plan as they have too many enemies. This is an epic battle between many Rangers of different dimensions. Outside, the Zords are being overwhelmed, so Billy tells the Hyperforce Rangers to get out of there and take Serpentera with them, but obviously this doesn't sit well with Lord Zed. Inside is the epic battle and Draken thinks they are losing, but Kimberly replies that they have had lesser odds in other battles. At that moment, Kimberly gets a big attack from a dark energy, and obviously we already know where it's coming from. Rita and Dark Specter arrive at the battle, and although Bulk tries to save Kimberly, the soldiers hold her back while Draken escapes on the other side. Draken finds the Master Arch, and while the Rangers are still trying to survive, he manages to open the portal. Draken uses the key he had used before, and we can also see that Dark Specter continues to use his dark energy to kill everyone. With this same magic, he manages to transform Kimberly back into Ranger Slayer, who follows Draken and manages to enter through the portal.